Dikshu C, Kukreja, Managing Principal Architect, CP Kukreja Architects, joining us. We also have Shailesh, Pathak, Infrastructure and Urban Development Expert, joining us. Thank you both of you gentlemen for taking time out to be with us. I'm going to begin with Dikshu. Dikshu, your initial thoughts on the budget. What stood out for you?
Well, I think it's a budget which is very progressive. I think it definitely reflects what one is talking about, a Viksit Bharat in the making, and the kind of, I would say, 360-degree or all perspective announcements that have come, particularly when it's related to urban planning, cities, providing better infrastructure in cities to do with more homes, 1 million more homes to be created, or 10 million homes, sorry, for the urban poor. I think all these are very progressive announcements that have been made in the budget. I also find it extremely positive to see that there's encouragement for the youth. I think many times that sector does tend to get overlooked in our previous budgets. Here I see that the idea of encouraging youth to join the workforce, providing them 1 month's salary on joining as towards their provident fund, etc., etc. These are all very progressive moves. Even looking at the MSME sector, I think is a very important announcement that has been made in the budget. So overall, I would give it a thumbs up in the sense of seeing all-round development of the country across different sectors, both rural and urban. I think this is very progressive, the announcements so far that have come to light for me in this budget.
Okay. Shailesh, your quick reaction on the kind of capex provisioning this government has made. It is continuing with what the interim government announced at 11.11 lakh crore rupees. That is going to be the money towards capital expenditure that the budget has allocated. Are you happy with that number? There's no increase in that number, but that in itself was an 11% increase from the budget last year.
Indeed, very rightly said. If you really look at 11.11 lakh crore, out of a total budget size of 48.21 lakh crores, that's a very large number. And if you look at it as proportional GDP, it's 3.4. But what I was really impressed with was the continuity over the last 11 years. I've been tracking budgets for a long time, and budget speeches have never spelled out the critical importance of urban development and cities for economic growth as growth hubs. Just to leave you with one number, they're talking about 14 cities with more than 30 lakh population and launching transit-oriented development schemes in all these 14 cities. These 14 cities contribute more than half of India's GDP. So cities matter.
Cities matter.
Okay,
they do
and in fact, the 9 priorities that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman alluded to, urban development and infrastructure are clearly spelt out as a key area. Shailesh, you want to add to that?
Yes. So I was looking at the list of priorities, and urban development actually came at number 5, energy transition at number 6, and infrastructure at number 7. I would say all 9 priorities are things that have been the focus of this government and earlier governments over the last many years. But the quality of execution and implementation, particularly in infrastructure and in urban development, energy transition, has been stupendous over the last few years. That's what the other thing to look at is water supply, rental housing, and urban housing. I think this comprehensive relook at how our cities can become more business friendly, more resident friendly is most welcome.
And increasing the number of cities in the first place, isn't it? Because jobs are being made in clusters, and creating those job clusters is another thing that the budget will do, isn't it, Dikshu?
May I just add here? I don't think it's about increasing the number of cities. In fact, one of the things that have been specifically mentioned is brownfield redevelopment of cities.
Okay.
And I am firmly in the camp of new cities take forever to develop and yield job opportunities. It's much better to make existing cities more efficient and effective.
Dikshu?
So, as a passionate urbanist, I would also say I am gloating over the fact that attention is being paid increasingly so, and particularly in this budget, on cities. That is the need of the hour. I think as a finance minister, allocating funds is a very important step in that direction. But thereafter, the aspect of execution and how this money in a timely manner, in a very clear, convincing, fast-track manner is in a balanced way spread across in the city's livability index. How do we improve the livability of these cities is very important. So how that gets spent becomes very critical. But of course, first things first, the announcement that there is this kind of money spent happening towards cities and urban development is very positive. I think this is the need of the hour. I would only say that this now must be very well integrated and closely knit with the aspect of environment, because let's remember, we all our cities, and we see that on your news channels as well, are reeling under climate change. Therefore, it's important that we look at whether it's the air quality, the water scarcity, and all other aspects of urban challenges or civic issues that we keep coming to our light, and as citizens we face day in, day out. How that gets integrated also is very important, because you can't just keep loading cities with more development. The development has to be done in the right model and the right framework. That is equally important. Yes, that discussion can happen on another day, but I'm just highlighting here that the first step of paying that attention towards city and spending towards cities, I definitely would compliment that very much.
All right, and gentlemen, you know, we were talking about affordable housing right before the start of the budget speech. There is some mention of that. So, of the 10 lakh crore which has been allocated for urban housing, about 2.25 lakh crore in the next 5 years would be central assistance towards interest subsidy to facilitate loans at an affordable rate. Essentially, affordable housing, focus and thrust on making it essential for people to at least get some roof over their head, and especially for urban poor. So there is a focus on urban poor there. Government in a way acknowledging that there is a problem here with respect to affordable housing and something needs to be done. Rakesh?
Absolutely. I mean, housing, Roti Kapda Makan, the proverbial film, that still is a reality. I was looking at Manmohan Singh's historic budget. He talked about the inequity, and there is need to, sort of say, remove that. So many decades down the line, we still have that challenge. So India is essentially a poor country. There are no overnight solutions. So urban housing, rural housing are challenges that need long-term solutions. I have a couple of questions for both our esteemed panelists. One is that, most of the challenges for our big ticket metros, mega metros, is that, migration, and, it's because of work labor related issues. Is there time now finally to do the unpopular decision of putting a cap on that, doing a moratorium on that? Because otherwise, this issue of development, we have to scale development down to see that these cities become durable. That's question number one. Little controversial, I would say.
Very controversial.
Second is that this long-term capital gains tax. It may not be as attractive now with the new change that has been announced today to invest in a second house to gain of to partake of the capital gains tax challenge. So, do we see a slowdown in that housing activity in the realty market? That's a question.
Dikshu, you were raising your hand.
Definitely like to respond to that very pertinent issue that has just been raised about urban migration. I think that's a very, very critical aspect for our country, and the sooner we recognize it, the better. In this case, being a democracy and the fact that every citizen has an equal right towards their prosperity, towards meeting their aspirations and dreams, I don't think there can be ever a moratorium on or a cap on the population of a city. However, having said that, my theory on this, and I've been writing about this for a while now and talking about it, is that we need to create suitable alternatives. And for me, the solution lies in balanced development. When we start creating opportunities in those tier 2, tier 3 cities, in our towns, we have over 5,000 towns in this country. When we can start creating those kind of opportunities for the citizens in those areas, automatically you are controlling urban migration. The need is that when you don't have those basic facilities or a means of livelihood in where you live, it could be the village or town or a very small city, then you choose to do migration. That's one side of the story. The other side is, of course, providing good allocation of infrastructure in these smaller areas, in these smaller cities, in towns, so that they become then centers for private investment also to happen. They could become educational hubs, tourism hubs, research hubs, etc., etc. And I think that is where we need to start focusing. Otherwise, there's no doubt that our cities are choking, and the more money you put into them, that money is really literally the way in Delhi Delhi, we see the money being pumped into Yamuna, but no change ever happening. Same way the money is getting drowned if we put into cities and do not solve these larger systemic challenges that our cities are facing, like the one you've talked about, urban migration.
Okay.
So let me give a little perspective here. All of you went to school in some city or the other. From that time, it has doubled in size. And in the next 25 years, the same city will double in size from 2024. So I would be very hesitant to advocate a Chinese hukao kind of system where migrants to cities don't have benefits. In fact, the easy way to resolve this situation is give migrants the right to join the electoral roll of the city that they migrate to, which is currently very difficult. And maybe 5 years down the line, allow anyone with an Aadhaar link to decide which electoral constituency she or he would like to be in. That will actually give the migrant a political voice, and all the MLAs and MPs will start bothering about them. We have to make sure that migrants have an easy landing when they arrive at the city. And that's something that some of us are working on. On your second question, Rakesh, I think the move towards financialization of savings in India is most welcome. This point about, can you buy 73 apartments and speculate in real estate is probably getting less. And real estate, remember, has a special tax benefit because there is a Section 54 EC that allows you to reduce that burden of tax on your capital gains. So hopefully speculation in real estate will come down, but affordable housing, and I've worked on affordable housing models, is largely prohibitive because of the land cost. So some of us, there was a mention in titles, urban land and rural land titles. Some of us are working towards reducing the price of land itself by innovative mechanisms. Thanks.
Just to clarify, we were not advocating a cap on migration. I was looking at some out-of-box solutions. So
Fair enough.
Hopefully not. I think most of us happen to be at least first-generation migrants to Delhi. And if there were to be enough and more opportunities in our home cities, I think we wouldn't be here. All of us would love to be back as to where we came from. But, yes, you were saying.
Yeah, just wanted to take the conversation on creation of infrastructure to two specific things that got announced in the budget. Rakesh always talks about the political context in which his budget is arriving in, and true to that, you see one huge allocation for the creation of a brand new capital city, Dikshu, which is called Amaravati. And then, of course, the other is for the allocation to the state of Bihar as well. I just want to, understand, how did you view these? Fair enough, at the end of the day, we are developing a brand new city which comes with so many advantages. You develop new infrastructure, more job creation, and more urban living spaces, if I may. But how did you view these announcements?
I would say in a large, diverse, complex country such as ours, with the kind of population that we have, 1/6 literally of the world's population is living in this country, and the land mass is what, 2.7% or less than 3% is the overall land mass. So of course we have a density issue, we have challenges of urban development, and for that there cannot be just one solution fits all. I would say a complete overall approach and in this case, the idea of announcing a greenfield city is also very welcome, because while I'm not a complete advocate for greenfield cities, and I think brownfield development has more responsibility attached to it, having said that there are areas, particularly in a situation like Andhra, which is a new state in that sense, or bifurcated state, it does not have the infrastructure which is commensurate for a state capital. In that case, to develop a greenfield city, by all means, I think is a welcome step. It also gives us lots of opportunities of creating a model which the world can look up and see of how a greenfield new city can be done. I think we lost those opportunities when we did the Naya Raipur and even the new part of Ranchi when Jharkhand became a new state. So this is yet another an opportunity which we should not lose, that we create a city of Amravati which the world can see is one of the most responsibly designed from a sustainable design point of view city, which has an economic equitable development attached to it, a development which is with nature, not at the cost of nature. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, and of course there is a need attached to it as well.
All right. Shailesh, there is also, and perhaps not for the first time, a mention of an all-round development for eastern region of the country. There is a proposal for a road connectivity project. There is also a proposal for a two-lane bridge over Ganga in Buxar at a total cost of 26,000 crore rupees. I think about time that there is some focus on northeastern region.
In fact, Purvodaya was there in the BJP manifesto also. And today, the five states that will be part of it